Yeah. Analytics off the chain, other channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headliner Nation, we running the game. I'm a headliner.
Yo, what's up, Headliner Nation? Kyle back with our tight end start and sit episode here in week 3 of the NFL season. And to kick things off in this episode, we got to take a look back and see how our accuracy numbers did from last week. And boom, baby, we are over 70% at the tight end position this past week, going 71%. And with how bad this position is, that's pretty darn good. Doyle, Fant, Johnson, all his hits for me. Sitting Johnson last week. Misses were Max Williams, Dawson Knox, Jared Cook. All three of them also being misses. But hey, being over 70%, that's where we love to be, baby. That's the goal every single week, is over 70%. But let's build on it. Let's get to 75 now in week 3. But before we jump into the matchups, don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, we have got one delicious giveaway this month. At the end of September, we are going to be giving away a prize package that includes a signed Justin Jefferson jersey, a Manscaped Perfect Package, and a Trevor Lawrence rookie card. Over $200 worth of awesome items here in this package. So make sure to get in on this. You download the Prize Picks app, create a new account with code word headliners, and deposit at least $20. Now they're gonna match your deposit all the way up to $100, and then you're gonna be entered for a chance to win this gift. So again, Prize Picks, download the app, code word headliners when you create a new account, and put in deposit $20, and you're going to be entered into this. And then obviously you're going to need to play some props this week, and we have got some awesome ones for you, and I'll have one coming up in this video. But let's jump into it and talk about the matchups. Headliner Nation, somebody give Jake a call, because your boy has lost his mind. Why? Because in week 3 2021, Dan Arnold is actually a thing. That's right. Dan Arnold is a start for me this week and brings my Prize Picks prop to watch, with me taking the over of 21.5 receiving yards and over 2 receptions. We are going up against a Houston team that has allowed 20.85 fantasy points to tight ends, the 4th most in the league. And they are giving up quite a few receptions to the position as well. I am smashing the over on Dan Arnold, over 21.5 receiving yards and over 2 receptions, and what will be a fantastic matchup for him. Oh my gosh. Fever? Nope, not drunk. I'm just feeling some Dan Arnold this week. What about Houston? Houston, we are going to be sitting both of these tight ends. Right now, Brown is still seeing just a little bit more snaps than Jordan Akins, even though Akins this week outsnapped him. But if Mills start, could one of these guys help him? Even if they do, I'm going to have to see it before I believe it. Washington going up against Buffalo, Logan Thomas. I think the connection with him and Taylor Heinicke is there, and I like it. So we're going to be listing him as a start this week. I also kind of like him as that number 2 option behind Terry McLaurin for some of those bigger plays and red zone targets. For Buffalo, Dawson Knox is going to be a sit for me, but I have told you in videos, I like Dawson Knox. I really do. The TD upside will be there in better matchups. I just don't think it exists in this one. I think we're going to see more Diggs, Beasley, and Emmanuel Sanders, but do not be surprised if Dawson Knox were to score a touchdown. In fact, if you're doing some GPPs or something like that in DFS, you might just casually throw Dawson Knox in one just to mix things up a little bit. Chicago and Cleveland, and yes, Cole Kmet, he let us down last week. I get it. I understand. But we're going back here if Justin Fields starts, because I definitely think that we are going to see a quick kind of game plan with Justin Fields, especially to begin the game. Get the ball out quick, some nice high percentage passes, and Cole Kmet would be a big part of that. So I'm going to have him as a start this week, helping out Justin Fields if Fields does end up being out there. And for Cleveland, we are going to go with Austin Hooper as a start this week. Now, it's been a while, Austin Hooper on this team is seeing the second most snaps out of the slot. That's right. They are utilizing Austin Hooper in the slot quite a bit right now. And if you've been a fan of the channel for a while, you know that I love some tight ends. They're going to go out to the slot. Now, keep in mind, I said this during my wide receiver video. One of the reasons I'm listing Donovan Peoples-Jones as a start this week is because he sees the third most slot snaps on the team. With Austin Hooper, I am going to go with him as a start because, again, talking about Chicago, they have been burned by Kupp and Boyd out of the slot the last couple of weeks. They are not defending against the slot well, and if we see a lot of Austin Hooper out there, then by God, this is finally his week. Baltimore at Detroit is going to bring my Manscaped must-watch matchup of the week. Don't forget our friends over at Manscaped are partnered with us again this season. If you go to their website and check out with the code HEADLINERS, you are going to save 20% off your entire purchase and get free shipping. Again, that's code word HEADLINERS when checking out at manscaped.com. 20% off and free shipping. Love this matchup. Two top tight ends in the league, Mark Andrews, TJ Hawkinson. This could end up being a really great matchup for both. Andrews a lot better last week, a decent 5'5", 57 line, and it should get even better this week going up against Detroit because everybody can throw all over Detroit. Heck, you can do whatever you want to over Detroit's defense at this point. For TJ Hawkinson, though, we're right back to him. Baltimore has been absolutely slashed by tight ends the last 2 weeks. Darren Waller destroyed him in week 1. Travis Kelce destroyed him in week 2. Now, I'm not saying TJ Hawkinson is Darren Waller or Travis Kelce yet. You never know. But they are allowing over 26 fantasy points per game to opposing tight ends this season. That is the most in the league. Expect TJ Hawkinson to turn in another great performance. Indianapolis and Tennessee, and Jack Mother and Doyle made me look smart last week. I love you, Jack. I love you. Not this week, though. We're going with him as a sit this week. Running it in the wide receivers. That is what I'm expecting against Tennessee. One thing about Tennessee, they are giving up less than a fantasy point per week to opposing tight ends. Less than 1 point. It's because they're getting burned so bad by wide receivers right now. Nobody's utilizing the tight ends against them. So I don't expect Indianapolis to do anything different. A lot of Jonathan Taylor, a lot of Michael Pittman, a lot of Zach Pascal. And again, a lot of it's also going to depend on whether or not we see Jacob Eason. For Tennessee, kind of the same thing. We saw them get back to it this past week, right? Running the football with Derrick Henry and then having big plays off of that. With Julio Jones this week, A.J. Brown had some big plays that he just dropped, didn't haul in. I think they really got back to the game plan that works for them, and that does not include Swaim and Firkser at all. The LA Chargers, the Kansas City Chiefs, Jared Cook, Donald Parham, both are going to be sits for me this week. When Austin Eckler gets targets, Cook won't. And Eckler saw 9 targets last week. This is how it's going to go. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler, not Jared Cook, okay? And we saw that. After getting no targets that first week, everybody was worried about Austin Eckler. And I said, don't worry about it. It will come. It will be fine. It came last week, and it's going to continue to come, which is bad news for Jared Cook. For Kansas City, it's Travis Kelce. You know what to do. Nolans at New England, and Adam Troutman and Juwan Johnson. I mean, what do we see here? What's happening? After the first week, Juwan Johnson, 2 touchdowns. Awesome. But Adam Troutman had he led the team in targets the first week. Just nothing really came from it. And he played 90% of the snaps. He was out there all the time. So in week 2, we thought, hey, Troutman definitely could end up being the guy. Juwan Johnson, maybe a little too risky, touchdown upside. Neither of them did anything. So on the road against New England just doesn't feel like a good matchup. And like I said in my wide receiver video, this offense just doesn't feel right to me right now. I don't think this is a well-oiled machine. Yeah, they did good against Green Bay to start, but they looked awful last week. And I'm far more concerned about that awful performance than that great performance to start the season. New England has also allowed only 3.35 fantasy points per game to opposing tight ends, the second fewest in the league. For the New England Patriots, Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry, Both are going to be a start for me. I expect a heavy dose of both of them this week with a fully healthy Hunter Henry now. Jonnu Smith, he looked fine last week after having an injury scare there late in the week in practice. But I mentioned it in my wide receiver video. The New Orleans Saints do not allow a lot of deep plays. So this is going to be Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry, Jakobi Meyers week for me. There was a lot of you that tried to panic sell Kyle Pitts last week, and I told you not to do it. So hopefully you didn't, because he bounced back just how we said he would. So hopefully there wasn't a whole lot of overreacting to week one. The Giants have allowed over 20 fantasy points per game to tight ends so far. That is the 5th most in the league. Last week, Kyle Pitts led the team in receiving. I do expect Calvin Ridley to get going a little bit more, but Kyle Pitts is the clear number 2 option on this team and will continue to be. For the New York Giants, I mean, Evan Ingram hasn't played. Caden Smith hasn't done anything. Kyle Rudolph hasn't done anything. The Cincinnati Bengals, the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm going to be frank with you, we're not starting any of these guys right now. Both of these teams are very, very similar. They're stacked at wide receiver. They have good running backs that they want to utilize. They don't have great offensive lines, and they don't have tight ends that they're utilizing on a consistent basis. Pat Freiermuth is probably the most talented of the group that you see here on the screen right now, but he hasn't done anything. He's a rookie tight end. Rookie tight ends never do anything. Arizona at Jacksonville, and yeah, Max Williams had a good week last week, but I am not expecting those consistent performances. I mean, that was a shootout last week for Arizona where they were going back and forth with Minnesota, end up winning it. I don't think Jacksonville's going to be a shootout, ladies and gentlemen. So Max Williams, for me, we'll keep our eye on him, but I don't expect him to turn out fantasy-relevant performances every single week, especially with the other weapons that they have there. And for Jacksonville, I mean, James O'Shaughnessy at some point in time could end up being an interesting weapon. If they were to have a wide receiver go down, they've put him out in the slot a little bit. They're trying to move him around, but again, we've got 3 wide receivers on this team that I expect to see a majority of those passing attempts before these guys do. I mean, if you've watched all the start-sit videos up to this point, we're not playing anyone from the Jets. So why in the world you think I would start with Ryan Griffin and Tyler Kroft is beyond me. We're not starting either of those guys. For Denver, though, Noah Fant, of course we're starting Noah Fant. Possible number 2 target on this team right now, off to a great start this season. Teddy Two Gloves having a great season so far. Really, really looking like the quarterback that he was expected to be coming out of Louisville. Noah Fant's your guy this week. Miami and Las Vegas, and I mean, you know the story. We're starting Darren Balls to the Waller. Yeah, not a great week last week, but the targets are still there, and they're going to continue to be there. For Miami, though, I mean, Mike Gesicki hasn't been anything yet, and am I kind of surprised by that? A little bit, but also not really either. You know, we talked about in the offseason that Gesicki really could get overshadowed by the new weapons that they have at wide receiver now, and Will Fuller missed last week. So the first 2 weeks of the season, if Gesicki was going to do it, I would have expected it to be then. But now we're getting Will Fuller back. We've got Devontae Parker. We've got Jalen Waddle. Myles Gaskin is still heavily utilized in the passing game. Mike Gesicki, for me, even with 5 targets last week, has absolutely no upside. Tampa Bay and the Rams. And at this point in time, I mean, Rob Gronkowski, how many touchdowns is this guy going to score? I mean, you would think at some point in time it's going to give, but maybe him and Tom Brady are just trying to set a bunch of records this year, and they don't really care. Brady's going to give it to Gronk as much as possible. It's good to see Gronkowski of the old, though. It's really, really good to see it because the dude is dominating the way that he used to. He's obviously a start. For the LA Rams, we're going to put Tyler Higbee as a start as too. I mean, he is on the field just as much, if not more, than other top tight end options on or in the league. So when you look at Tyler Higbee, yeah, maybe he has some up and down performances, but opportunity is everything. And if you're on the field, you have the opportunity. And if you have the opportunities, you could always score some decent fantasy points. Seattle and Minnesota. And the thing about Seattle for Gerald Everett, he's going to be a great red zone threat, but to keep scoring from 40 or 50 yards out, he's never going to get any red zone luck. So he's going to be a sit for me again this week. Again, touchdown upside every single week, but volume isn't quite there for him right now. And for the Minnesota Vikings, wide receivers are killing it right now. Cook's killing it right now. I mean, KJ Osborne has broke out. Jefferson and Thielen look great. The tight ends aren't doing anything. We can't play him right now. We'll get back to Bobby Tonyan this week because it is a tough matchup for the wide receivers, but it's actually not that bad of a matchup for Bobby Tonyan there because San Francisco allows 16 fantasy points per game to opposing tight ends, which is 9th most in the league. Now, I don't think we're going to see a ton of volume, right? I mean, Monday night, the only thing that made Robert Tonyan even a viable fantasy option was the fact that he scored a touchdown. If he hadn't scored a touchdown, it wouldn't have been a great week for him anyway. So like I wrote about in the draft guys, if he's not scoring touchdowns, he's probably not going to be a decent start for you. It's going to be those touchdowns. If he scores a touchdown this week, great. If he doesn't, you're probably going to be hurting a little bit. So he's going to be on the lower end of the tight end rankings for me. And then obviously George Kittle, he's always going to be a start for you. Monday Night Football, Philly and Dallas. And for the Philadelphia Eagles, Zach Ertz will be out this week on COVID protocols. So that means Dallas Goedert is going to be a start for me. If there's no Zach Ertz, we got to roll with Dallas Goedert because there's just that many more opportunities for snaps and targets. For the Dallas Cowboys, I'm going to go with Jarwin and Schultz both as a sit, and we will revisit this. So make sure you check my rankings on Thursday because if Amari Cooper ends up being out, then we're going to switch one of these guys to a start. Which one yet? I don't know because only one of them will be a hit. Both of these guys are not going to do anything, okay? It was Jarwin, or basically kind of it was Schultz, and then it was a little bit more towards Jarwin this week, and I think we're going to see some back and forth there. It could be one guy and not the other. They're going to split a lot of reps and things of that nature. So even if we're missing Amari Cooper, who's it going to be? We'll dig into that more, but as of right now, they're both sits because I am expecting Amari Cooper to be on the field. There you have it, Headliner Nation. That does it for me on this episode of our tight end start and sit video. I'm going to get out of here. Make sure you do me a favor. If you appreciate the content, you got to hit that like button for me down below. Leave me a comment as well. Who do you plan on starting at the tight end position? How are you feeling about it? And as always, if you're new here to the Fantasy Headliners, hit that subscribe button. Become a part of Headliner Nation today. Ladies and gentlemen, y'all stay safe and stay healthy out there. I'll catch you on the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners.
I'm a headliner.